The well shouldn't have had a grate that new. Jessica noticed it first, the way the metal caught the streetlight. Too clean, too recent, bolted into stone that looked 100 years older than everything else in Miller's Hollow Park. She didn't say anything. Not yet. She just kept walking, her sneakers crunching gravel, her best friend Amanda a few steps ahead with Biscuit straining at the leash. It was almost midnight. They'd been at the dog run since a little after 11:45, and honestly, the night had been normal. Boring, even. Couples making out on benches, a cluster of college kids laughing too loud near the fountain. Everything lit up gold under the park lamps like nothing bad could ever happen here. "I can't believe we forgot the keys," Amanda groaned, tugging Biscuit back toward the dog area. "It's gonna take forever to walk all the way around." "There's a shortcut," Jessica said. "Up that little hill. Cuts right back to the main path." It should have been nothing. A 2-minute climb, loose dirt under their shoes, Biscuit trotting ahead like he always did, the kind of thing you do without thinking twice. Then Biscuit stopped, not slowed down, stopped, all 4 paws planted, body rigid, a low growl building in his throat that Jessica had never heard him make before. Not at squirrels, not at other dogs, not ever. "Biscuit?" Amanda knelt down, hand on his back. "Hey buddy, what's—" That's when Jessica looked up the hill. There was a figure standing over the old well, the one everyone said had been sealed for decades, grated shut, forgotten, except now there was a man standing on top of it, thin, too thin, like his body had been stretched to fit a taller frame and hadn't quite settled right, dressed head to toe in black. And even though the lamp 20 feet away lit the whole clearing gold, his face stayed dark, like the light refused to land on him. "Amanda," Jessica whispered. "Do you see that?" Amanda's grip tightened on the leash. Yeah, I see him." The figure was moving, slow, deliberate stretches, arms unfolding like something practicing a routine only it understood. And on top of his head, Jessica blinked, told herself she was imagining it. 2 shapes, pointed, twitching slightly, the way an animal's ears do when it catches a sound. Then he turned his head, not his shoulders, not his whole body, just his neck, swiveling far past where a neck should stop, until his hidden face was pointed dead at them. Neither girl moved. Biscuit didn't bark. He just stood there between them, low growl humming, eyes locked on the well. "We should go back," Amanda breathed. "Don't run," Jessica said, though every muscle in her body was screaming to do exactly that. "Just walk, normal, like we didn't see anything." They turned together, slow, deliberate, forcing their legs into something resembling a casual pace. Jessica's heart slammed against her ribs so hard she was sure the man, thing, whatever it was, could hear it. Behind them, silence. No footsteps, no rustling grass. They reached the bottom of the hill and dared to glance back. The clearing around the well was empty. No people, no couples on the benches, no laughing college kids by the fountain. The gold light still burned steady over a park that had, in the space of 2 minutes, completely emptied itself out. "Where did everyone go?" Amanda's voice cracked. Jessica didn't answer. She was staring at the fence line ahead, where the parking lot should be visible through the trees. The cars were still there, dozens of them, parked exactly where they'd been an hour ago. So where were the people who drove them? Biscuit whined and pressed against Jessica's leg, refusing to walk another step toward the fountain path. She looked down at him, then back up toward the hill. The figure was gone from the well, but somewhere behind them, close enough that she felt it more than heard it, something exhaled. They didn't run. Jessica would replay that decision for weeks afterward, wondering if it had been the smartest thing they'd ever done, or the reason everything got worse. Instead, they kept to the fence line, putting the chain link between themselves and the open park, moving fast but controlled, Biscuit glued to Jessica's ankle like he'd rather be anywhere else on Earth. The well was visible from here, distant across the grass, and the figure, thank God, was nowhere in sight. "Talking as if they'd been there all along," Amanda muttered, staring at a cluster of teenagers now visible near the entrance gate, laughing, scrolling their phones, completely unbothered. Jess. They weren't there 2 minutes ago. "Maybe they were," Jessica said, though she didn't believe it. "Maybe we just didn't notice them." "You don't believe that." She didn't. They reached the car in silence, Biscuit practically leaping into the back seat, and Jessica sat behind the wheel for a full 10 seconds before her hands stopped shaking enough to start the engine. Through the windshield, the park sat there glowing peacefully under its lamps, like a postcard. like nothing had happened. "We should call the police," Amanda said as they pulled out of the lot. "And say what? That we saw a guy doing yoga on a well and he had cat ears? When you say it like that, it sounds insane." It was insane, Amanda. Neither of them slept that night. Jessica lay in bed replaying the image over and over. The too thin body, the dark where a face should be, the neck twisting past what bone allowed. She told herself sleep deprivation caused hallucinations. She told herself stress did strange things to the eyes. She told herself a lot of things, and none of them worked, because Amanda had seen it too. And Amanda didn't hallucinate cat ears on a stranger's head for fun. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. No knock at the door, no strange messages, nothing. Jessica started to relax, started to believe maybe it really had been some guy. A weird one, sure, dressed for a costume party, high on something, and the missing crowd had a boring explanation she just hadn't thought of yet. Then Amanda called her at 2 a.m. "Jess." Her voice was wrong, thin, stretched too tight. "Jess, I need you to look out your window." "What? Why?" "Just do it." Jessica crossed her dark bedroom, pulled back the curtain, and looked down at the quiet street below her apartment. Empty, streetlight humming at the corner. Nothing. "There's nothing here, Amanda." "What?" "He's outside my building." Amanda's breath hitched, ragged, standing under the streetlight, just standing there, not moving. "He's been there 20 minutes. Jessica's stomach dropped. "Call the police." "I can't stop looking at him, Jess. I don't think I can look away." The line went dead. Jessica called back immediately, straight to voicemail. She tried 3 more times, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone, before she grabbed her keys and ran for the door, Biscuit barking wildly behind her, hurling herself down the stairs 2 at a time. She didn't remember the drive. She remembered pulling up outside Amanda's building, the streetlight Amanda described burning cold and empty, no figure beneath it, and Amanda's window on the 3rd floor dark, curtains open, swaying slightly like someone had just brushed past them. She remembered pounding on the apartment door, screaming Amanda's name, until a neighbor finally opened their own door and told her, half asleep and irritated, that no one had lived in that apartment for 6 months. Jessica stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the neighbor, an older woman in a bathrobe, squinting at her like she was the crazy one. "That's not possible," Jessica said. "My friend lives there, Amanda Reyes. I dropped her off there last month. Sweetheart, I've lived next door 2 years. That unit's been empty since the tenant before moved out. Some young guy. Nobody since." Jessica's phone buzzed in her hand. A text from Amanda. "Sorry, phone died. Everything's fine. Don't come over. I'll call you tomorrow." Relief crashed through her so fast her knees nearly buckled, followed immediately by something colder. Because the message had come through at 2:47 a.m., and the last real time she'd heard from Amanda, the line going dead mid-sentence, had been 2:41. 6 minutes. 6 minutes to somehow charge a dead phone enough to send a text that sounded nothing like her. Jessica didn't sleep. She sat in her car outside a building where her best friend apparently didn't live, staring up at a dark window until the sky started turning gray at the edges. Then she drove to Amanda's actual apartment, the real one, 4 blocks over, where Amanda had lived for 2 years with her cat and her overgrown balcony garden. Amanda answered the door on the 3rd knock, looking exhausted but normal, alive, real. "Jess? What are you? Where were you last night?" Jessica's voice came out sharper than she meant. "You called me. You said he was outside your building." Amanda's face went pale in a way that had nothing to do with lack of sleep. "I didn't call you last night. Your name was on the screen, Amanda. I heard your voice. I was asleep. I turned my phone off at 10. She stepped back, letting Jessica into the apartment, and that's when Jessica noticed it. Amanda's cat, a fat orange tabby named Pepper, pressed into the farthest corner of the living room, tail puffed to twice its size, hissing at absolutely nothing. "Pepper's been like that since I woke up," Amanda said quietly. "Wouldn't come near me. Wouldn't eat." They sat at the kitchen table while Jessica explained everything. The call, the address that didn't exist, the neighbor who swore no one lived there, the text that came 6 minutes too fast. Amanda's hands wrapped around a coffee mug she never drank from, knuckles white. "It wasn't me," she said finally, on the phone. "It wasn't me, Jess." "Then who? I think it wanted you to come find it." The words hung there, ugly and impossible, and neither of them said anything for a long moment. Outside, a car alarm went off somewhere down the block, sharp and sudden, and both women flinched hard enough to rattle the table. "We need to find out what that well actually is," Jessica said. "Not urban legend stuff, actual history. Someone sealed it for a reason." Amanda nodded slowly, pulling her laptop toward her with hands that hadn't quite stopped shaking. She typed Miller's Hollow Park Well history into the search bar, and the two of them leaned in together, waiting for the results to load. The first article that came up was dated 11 years earlier, a missing persons case. A young man, 23 years old, last seen entering the park after midnight. He was never found, but witnesses at the time reported something strange near the old well that same week. A thin figure in dark clothing, watching from a distance, always gone by the time anyone got close enough to see its face. Amanda's cursor hovered over the article. Neither of them wanted to click further, but neither of them could stop. The article had a name. Daniel Voss, 23. Last seen walking his roommate's dog near the park entrance just after midnight on a Tuesday in October, 11 years ago. No body, no leads. The case had gone cold within a year, and quietly disappeared from local news after that. The kind of story nobody remembers unless they go looking. "There's more," Amanda said, scrolling. Her voice had gone flat, the way people sound when they're too scared to react normally anymore. "Look." Buried 3 pages deep in search results was a forum post from a true crime enthusiast. Years old, barely any replies. It claimed Daniel Voss wasn't the first, that the well had a longer history than the city ever admitted to, going back decades, maybe longer, and that every disappearance connected to it shared the same detail buried in witness statements. A thin figure near the well, always watching, never approaching, always gone by morning. "This is insane," Jessica whispered. "This can't be real." "You saw him too, Jess." Amanda's eyes were wet, furious and terrified at once. "Don't do that. Don't pretend we didn't both see the same impossible thing." She was right, and Jessica hated that she was right. She closed her eyes, tried to steady her breathing, and forced herself to think clearly. Okay. If it's connected to the well, if it's been doing this for years, why now? Why us? Maybe it's not about us, Amanda said slowly. Maybe it's about Biscuit. Jessica's stomach turned cold. Every dog in the park had gone quiet that night. Every dog except Biscuit, who'd growled, who'd sensed something the moment they got close, who hadn't stopped watching the hill since. Animals saw things people didn't. Maybe that's exactly why it had noticed them at all, because their dog had noticed it first. That night, Jessica couldn't stay in her apartment. She packed a bag, drove to Amanda's, and the two of them sat up with every light in the apartment blazing, Biscuit curled tight against Jessica's side, Pepper refusing to leave the top of the bookshelf. Around 1 a.m., Jessica's phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. You shouldn't have looked back. Both girls stared at the screen in silence. Jessica's hands were shaking so hard she nearly dropped the phone when a second message arrived 30 seconds later. I remember faces. Amanda grabbed the phone from her, thumb hovering over the call button. But before she could press it, the screen went black. Not off, not locked, just black, as if the phone itself had stopped working. When Jessica pressed the power button, it flickered back to life like nothing had happened. No missed calls, no messages, nothing in the inbox at all. It's messing with us, Amanda said, voice cracking. It's actually messing with us. We need to go back, Jessica said suddenly. Amanda stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Are you insane? If it's connected to that well, if that's where it comes from, where it is, then maybe that's the only place we can actually deal with this. Not our apartments. Not out here where it can text us and impersonate our voices and God knows what else. There. That's the worst idea I've ever heard. Do you have a better one? Amanda didn't answer, because she didn't, and they both knew it. And outside the window, 3 floors down, a street lamp flickered once, twice, and went dark. They went back at dusk, not midnight, telling themselves the last light of day would make a difference even though neither of them really believed it. Biscuit came too, leash wrapped twice around Jessica's fist, his growl already building the second they crossed into the park. The well looked exactly the same, grated, sealed, ordinary in a way that felt obscene given everything they now knew. Amanda held a flashlight she wasn't using yet, and Jessica carried nothing at all, just the cold certainty that turning back wasn't an option anymore. What are we even supposed to do? Amanda whispered. We don't know how to fight this. We don't even know what this is. Daniel Voss disappeared here, Jessica said. Maybe others too. Maybe it doesn't want to fight. Maybe it just wants to be seen. Really seen, not glimpsed and run from. It was a theory built on nothing but instinct, but as they stepped into the clearing, Biscuit stopped dead again, growl rising low and steady, and the temperature around the well dropped hard enough that Jessica watched her own breath fog in front of her. The figure rose from behind the grate like it had been waiting the entire time, unfolding upward in that same wrong, too smooth way, joints bending in sequences that didn't belong to a human body. Its face stayed dark even now, even this close, even with the last orange light of sunset bleeding across the grass. "We're not running," Jessica said, forcing the words out steady even as her whole body screamed to bolt. "We came back. We're looking right at you." The figure tilted its head, ears twitching at the motion, and for the first time made a sound. Not a growl, not a word, something in between, low and resonant, like wind forced through a hollow space. It took one step off the well, then another. Amanda's flashlight beam swung up instinctively, catching the figure full in the face for one fractured half-second, before it recoiled with a shriek that sent both girls stumbling backward, hands over their ears, Biscuit barking wildly now, no longer frozen, no longer silent. In that half-second of light, Jessica saw it, not a monster's face, a young man's face, 20-something, eyes wide and confused and endlessly tired, mouth open in something that looked less like rage and more like relief. Then it was gone. Not faded, not retreated, simply gone. The space above the well empty, as if it had never stood there at all, and the temperature around them climbed back to normal so fast, Jessica felt dizzy from the change. They didn't speak until they reached the car. Didn't speak until they were 3 miles away, doors locked, engine running, hands still trembling against the steering wheel. "Did you see his face?" Amanda finally whispered. "Yeah," Jessica's voice came out hoarse. "I think that's the only thing it ever wanted, for someone to actually look." Neither of them ever went back to Miller's Hollow Park after that night. The well was filled in and paved over 18 months later during a routine city renovation. No explanation given, no records kept of why. Jessica still walks Biscuit most evenings, just never after dark, and never anywhere near water. But sometimes, late at night, her phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. No words, just a single image, dark, blurred, barely legible. A grate, a well, and something standing above it, waiting to be seen again.